This is the final version of a Yak aerobatic aeroplane. It's the last all-metal aeroplane designed in Russia specifically for the sport of aerobatic flying. The concept of it was put together fairly quickly in the early 80s as a reaction to smaller, similar shaped aeroplanes that were being built in people's garages in America. There was a very famous American design called a laser that sort of broke the balance between the East and the West in aerobatic competitions in the 70s, 80s. And the Russians realized they had to design something a little bit more like that, a little fresh from the traditional Yak-55 design. So they built what became colloquially known as a laser Yak, because the configuration of the aeroplane is mid-wing symmetrical, improved type of aeroplane for positive and negative aerobatic flying. And they produced the aeroplane. It started to fly in the late 70s, early 80s on the Russian aerobatic team. Did quite well, but also at that time the Sukhoi Design Bureau, the other big competitor to Yakovlev's in the USSR, started working with more modern materials, with advanced composite materials, carbon fibre structures, and they produced an aeroplane in the early 80s that was a rival to the Yak-55, and which exploited a carbon fibre wing for the first time, and this was the first early versions of the Sukhoi 26. There then was a bit of a balancing act not between the East and the West, but between the two design bureaus in Russia. And the carbon fibre winged aeroplane, once it had got over some basic teething troubles with that material, the carbon fibre winged aeroplane proved to be quite a bit superior to this all aluminium design of aeroplane. And so, although the Yak-55 was a European Championship winning aeroplane for 1 year in the late 70s, early 80s, it soon became eclipsed by carbon fibre winged aeroplanes. So my history with this aeroplane goes back to the early 90s, to 93 in fact, when Len Perry and I were the first people to bring one of the Yak-55s out of Russia into the West. Primarily because we were both wanting to fly in unlimited competitions, and this was the cheapest aeroplane we could buy to do it. And I then had to make a transition from flying in American biplanes to Russian all-metal monoplanes, which was a huge transition. It took me 2 years really to get to know the aeroplane very well because of its differences. Everything's the other way around because the engine rotates in the opposite direction. All the propeller effects, gyroscopic forces and so on are all different. But that's one basic thing. That in itself is not the biggest problem. The main problem with this aeroplane is the inertia of everything is different, and the response and the timing of the aeroplane is all different. You know, it's bigger, it's heavier, the controls are still quite light, but the actual mass of the ailerons themselves is an issue. But once you get used to those things, it's very agile, it's very clean, it looks very easy for the people on the ground to see what it's doing because it's long, thin, the lines are all very straight. It's a very easy airplane to judge. So if you fly it well, it's obvious that you're flying it well. People can see that you're flying it well. If you fly it badly, people can see that you're flying it badly. In terms of non-aerobatic flying, you put yourself in the mind of the Russian for a minute. All their training was done on nose-wheel airplanes by then, on Yak-52s. And then they had to put pilots into a single-seat aerobatic airplane for the first time, and to be their first tailwheel airplane as well. So there was no two-seat Yak in those days when they could teach people tailwheel conversions. So they had to design an airplane that was quite easy to land for a nose-wheel pilot, first time to get into a tailwheel airplane, and they did very well, because landing this airplane and taking it off really is like a kiddie car. It just sits down and it stays on the ground and it goes in a straight line, and it's a very easy airplane to transition onto from a general flying point of view.